Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I am Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi opens the second Voice of Global South Summit, says it's time for members to speak in one voice for greater global good. Polling draws to a close in the central Indian state of Madhya Pradesh. The second and final phase of election also held in the state of Chhattisgarh. And India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal calls APEC talks engaging, says world leaders are looking forward to greater engagements with India. The virtual session of the second Voice of Global South Summit began in New Delhi this morning. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the inaugural session, during which he asserted that geographically the Global South has always existed, but it is getting a voice for the first time, and this is because of joint efforts.
भौगोलिक रूप से तो ग्लोबल साउथ तो हमेशा से रहा है, लेकिन उसे इस प्रकार से वॉइस पहली बार मिल रही है और यह हम सभी के साझा प्रयासों से संभव हुआ है। हम 100 से ज्यादा अलग अलग देश हैं, लेकिन हमारे हित समान है, हमारी प्राथमिकताएं समान है। फ्रेंड्स, पिछले वर्ष दिसंबर में जब भारत ने G20 की अध्यक्षता संभाली, तो हमने इस फोरम में ग्लोबल साउथ के देशों की आवाज को आगे बढ़ाना अपना दायित्व माना।
Stressing on responsible use of artificial intelligence, Prime Minister Modi announced that India will organize the Artificial Intelligence Global Partnership Summit.
भारत मानता है कि नई टेक्नोलॉजी नॉर्थ और साउथ के बीच दूरियां बढ़ाने का नया स्रोत नहीं बनना चाहिए। आज आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस एआई के युग में टेक्नोलॉजी को रिस्पॉन्सिबल तरीके से उपयोग में लाने की बहुत जरूरत है। इसको आगे बढ़ाने के लिए भारत में अगले महीने एआई ग्लोबल पार्टनरशिप समिट आयोजित की जा रही है। G20 द्वारा डिजिटल पब्लिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर यानी डीपीआई के फ्रेमवर्क को अपनाया गया है, जिससे आवश्यक सेवाओं की लास्ट माइल डिलीवरी में सहायता मिलेगी और इंक्लूसिविटी बढ़ेगी।
Prime Minister Modi, during his opening remarks at the Voice of Global South Summit, also touched upon the Israel-Hamas conflict, saying that India has exercised restraint so far and also given emphasis on dialogue and diplomacy. He stressed that this is a time when the countries of the Global South should unite for the greater global good.
सिविलियंस की मौत की हम कठोर निंदा करते हैं। राष्ट्रपति महमूद अब्बास जी से बात कर हमने फिलिस्तीन के लोगों के लिए मानवीय सहायता भी भेजी है। ये समय है जब ग्लोबल साउथ के देश ग्रेटर ग्लोबल गुड के लिए एक स्वर में बात करें। वन अर्थ, वन फैमिली, वन फ्यूचर के लिए हम सब मिलकर 5 C's के साथ आगे बढ़ें। जब मैं 5 C's की बात करता हूं तब कंसल्टेशन, कोऑपरेशन, कम्युनिकेशन, creativity or capacity building.
Assembly elections were held in the Indian states of Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh on Friday amid tight security. In Madhya Pradesh, voting took place for all 230 seats in a single phase, while in Chhattisgarh, polling was held for 70 seats in the second phase. The ruling party, the BJP, has been in power in Madhya Pradesh for almost 18 of the last 20 years, and it is seeking to retain power in the state. Meanwhile, in Chhattisgarh, there is a tough fight between the ruling Congress party and the opposition BJP. And my colleague Aditya Srivastav joins us from Bhopal. Aditya, how's the voter turnout been in Madhya Pradesh?
Yes, Ramesh, if we talk about the Election Commission, till 5 p.m., more than 71% voters have cast their vote. It means around 3 crore 91 lakh, more than 3 crore 91 lakh voters out of 5 crore.
I'm afraid we've lost that link with Aditya. We'll try to fix that link with Aditya in Bhopal. I'm told he is back with us.
MP.
Aditya, continue, please.
Yes. Yes, if we talk about the Election Commission, Ramesh, more than 71% voters already have cast their vote in MP election. It means more than 3 crore 91 lakh voters out of 5 crore 59 lakh voters in MP have cast their vote. More than 64,000 polling stations are located in the MP by the Election Commission of India. Some you can see behind me. This is the ideal polling station. All basic necessary arrangements done by the Election Commission. More than 48% voters are women in Madhya Pradesh out of the 5 crore 5 crore 98 lakh voters. So we can say women voter is also very important factor in MP election. Youth voters are more than 22 lakhs. First time voters was very excited till morning. Now voting is closed. We can say the destiny of more than 2,500 candidates of MP election who are in the battle in MP, so are put in the EVM machines. Now Election Commission employees are doing some final arrangements, some final formalities after the polling station. Those voters who already came before the 6 p.m. they can allowed for voting, but after those who are coming after 6, they cannot. They are not allowed for voting. So we can say some unwanted newses are also come in MP elections. So we can say good voting percentage we can expect in Madhya Pradesh also.
Also, Aditya, let's talk a bit, if you will, about the election in Chhattisgarh. How was the polling in the second and final phase there? And what were the issues at play in the Chhattisgarh Assembly election this time round?
Till 5 p.m., more than 68% voters already have cast a vote in Chhattisgarh. Around 18,000 polling stations are situated in Chhattisgarh. Vote, as we know that polling for 70 seats of Chhattisgarh in second round, already 20 seats polling did before. Did before. So we can say voters, the main issue of the voters is development. Those voters who want, the strong government in a state, they are casting their vote. Some Naxalism affected areas, the voting and around 6 p.m. Started at 7 or 8 a.m. So we can say voters are very excited. Also in Chhattisgarh, women voter is also came out for cast their vote. First time voters also gave the major role in this assembly election in Chhattisgarh also. There are tight security by the Election Commission also. So we can say now around 900, more than 900 candidates are in battle in Chhattisgarh also. So in Chhattisgarh, all voting also completed in this election.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Aditya Srivastav in Bhopal, thank you once again for your inputs. Appreciate it. In some other news, a massive fire broke out in a warehouse in central Mexico City. This is news from around the world. Authorities evacuated hundreds of people living nearby. It took firefighters hours to extinguish the fire. There were no immediate reports of casualties. In some more news, making news around the world, Argentina is gearing up for presidential election. The country's finance minister and presidential candidate Sergio Massa ended his election campaign at a public high school in Buenos Aires. Argentina, facing its worst economic crisis in decades, will vote on Sunday. 11-day nationwide military drills are underway in Japan as air, sea and land forces prepare themselves for a potential conflict in East Asia. Such military exercises are expanding in scope and becoming more frequent after Prime Minister Kishida Fumio unveiled a military buildup that will double defense spending over the next 5 years. A fierce storm with strong wind gusts dumped more than 30 centimeters of rain on parts of South Florida in the U.S. on Thursday, which led to flooding homes and streets, downing power lines and trees, and leaving tens of thousands of homes and businesses without electricity. More than 86,000 homes and businesses remained without power across several regions. Right, moving on, referring to pro-Khalistani protesters' attack on a consular camp in Canada, India's Ministry of External Affairs said that Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations must be respected.
Our High Commission and consulates in Canada regularly organize consular camps. One such camp was organized near Vancouver on November 12th or 13th to provide life certificate to pensioners. The event was held successfully despite attempts by a few radical elements to cause trouble. Our Consul General was not present at that site. We reiterate the need for nations to respect the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations so that our diplomats can discharge their diplomatic obligations.
India's External Affairs Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar has reiterated that Canada has never shared any evidence on Khalistani leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar's killing. Responding to a question at an event organized at Wilton Park in London on the theme of how 1 billion people see the world, Minister Jaishankar said that India is not ruling out an investigation into Canada's accusation, but Ottawa is yet to provide any evidence to back its claim.
In Canada, we feel that the Canadian politics has given space to violent and extreme political opinions which advocate separatism from India, including through violent means. And these people have been accommodated in Canadian politics. They are given the freedom to articulate their views. If you have a reason to make such an allegation, please share the evidence with us. We are not ruling out an investigation and looking at anything which they may have to offer. They haven't done so.
And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh meets his Timor-Leste counterpart on the margins of an ASEAN meeting in Jakarta. APEC summit concludes in San Francisco without consensus on the terms of trade under the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. And Indian minister attends new Maldives president's inauguration.
Welcome to Jaipur.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh met his Timor-Leste counterpart Donaciano da Costa Gomes in Indonesia's Jakarta. Minister Singh said that the duo discussed potential areas for future collaboration, including supply of made-in-India defence equipment, capacity building and training. Minister Singh is in Jakarta for the 10th ASEAN Defence Ministers Meeting Plus. Leaders attending the APEC summit in San Francisco were unable to reach a consensus on the trade portion of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, or the IPEF. The US-led framework, which India is a part of, is seen as a bid to counter China's influence in the region. Ira Spitzer is at the summit and filed this report. Take a look.
The Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit is all but wrapped up here in San Francisco with more than a dozen leaders from around the world basically just going to meet for a retreat in the morning, as well as a couple bilateral meetings before heading back to their respective countries. Now, India is not an official member of APEC, but was represented here as a guest economy with the Minister of Industry and Commerce, Piyush Goyal, attending parts of the summit, as well as the negotiations taking place on something called the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity, commonly called the IPEF. And that agreement is widely seen as an attempt by the U.S. to try and counter Chinese economic influence in the Indo-Pacific region. And President Biden had hoped, heading into the APEC Leaders Summit, to have the IPEF completely signed, sealed, and agreed by the 14 member economies, including India. However, that actually hit some snags along the way in the negotiating process. IPEF is divided into these 4 pillars. Those pillars are supply chain resilience, trade, clean energy, as well as anti-corruption measures. Now, the leaders were able to agree on 3 of those pillars, but that crucial trade pillar proved elusive. And India, by the way, is not party to the trade part of the IPEF agreement. So we heard from President Biden just a short while ago saying that this is going to be an ongoing negotiation as these economies try and come to some agreement about issues like market access, which of course is something that the other nations in the United States would like to have for their economies, but the U.S. has been reluctant so far to grant that sort of market access or the types of trade deals that some are looking for. So President Biden hailing this as a victory, but also, of course, some disappointment here at the failure to really agree this comprehensive agreement. Reporting in San Francisco, Ira Spitzer for DD India.
On the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit that was going on in San Francisco, India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal spoke to media, where he called the dialogue among all the world leaders engaging. Take a listen.
It was a very engaging dialogue, and clearly the collective wisdom of all the leaders in the room was towards working as friends, as partners, and finding a faster pathway to a sustainable world.
Speaking to the media, India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal said that countries around the world are influenced by India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi's call for diplomacy and dialogue to resolve conflicts.
All the countries of the world are deeply influenced by Prime Minister Modi's call to action, both in terms of dialogue and diplomacy to resolve conflict, and the effort to end the various conflicts around the world.
India's Earth Sciences Minister Kiren Rijiju, who is on a visit to the Maldives, took stock of the progress of the Greater Malay Connectivity Project on Friday. The project is being undertaken under the Government of India's concessional line of credit and grant to the Maldives. It's aimed to usher economic development and prosperity in the Greater Malay region. Dr. Mohammad Muizzu has been sworn in as the 8th President of the Republic of Maldives. Dr. Muizzu's swearing-in ceremony has taken place at the Republic Square in the capital, Malé. Vice President Hussein Mohammad Latif also took the oath of office. The oaths were administered by the Chief Justice of the Maldives, Ahmed Muttasim Adnan. India's Minister for Earth Sciences, Kiren Rijiju, attended the ceremony. Rijiju reached the Maldives on Wednesday to represent India at the oath-taking ceremony of Dr. Muizzu as the new president. India's Minister of State for External Affairs, Meenakshi Lekhi, says security plays a pivotal role for an economy to sustain itself. While speaking at the Indo-Pacific Regional Dialogue 2023, Minister Lekhi said security is deeply connected with growth and prosperity.
Economy is a very important pillar and limb, but in addition to economy, or for any economy to do well, secure conditions have to be there. So security is as important, as deeply connected with growth and prosperity, and there comes Indian Navy and all navies of the world. All the countries which are littoral countries, and many a times even landlocked countries, because even for their trade route, this region needs to be secured.
In more news from South Asia, the ban on social media app TikTok in Nepal has started a fresh debate regarding the benefits and damage that this social app can cause. A writ petition has been filed in the Supreme Court of the country demanding the annulment of the ban. TikTok has also written to the Nepal Telecommunication Authority expressing its dissatisfaction with the decision. To sports news now, India will face Australia in the final of the ICC Cricket World Cup 2023 after the latter beat South Africa by 3 wickets in the second semi-final at the Eden Gardens in Kolkata. Take a look at India's journey so far into the World Cup final.
Armed with a formidable batting unit and a strong bowling attack, India have stormed into the first World Cup final in 12 years after winning 10 games on the trot. The latest being a 70-run win over New Zealand in a thriller at the Wankhede Stadium. Here is a look at India's unbeaten journey into the World Cup final. Match 1, October 8, 2023, India versus Australia. India won by 6 wickets with 52 balls remaining. Match 2, October 11, 2023, India versus Afghanistan. India won by 8 wickets with 90 balls remaining. Match 3, October 14, 2023, India versus Pakistan. India won by 7 wickets with 117 balls remaining. Match 4, October 19, 2023, India versus Bangladesh. India won by 7 wickets with 51 balls remaining. Match 5, October 2023, India versus New Zealand. India won by 4 wickets with 12 balls remaining. Match 6, October 29, 2023, India versus England. India won by 100 runs. Match 7, November 2, 2023, India versus Sri Lanka. India won by 302 runs. Match 8, November 5, 2023, India versus South Africa. India won by 243 runs. Match 9, November 12, 2023, India versus Netherlands. India won by 160 runs. Match 10, November 15, 2023, semi-final, India versus New Zealand. India won by 70 runs in Mumbai. Sports Desk, DD India.
And my colleague Tapas Bhattacharya now joins us. Tapas, is Ahmedabad all decked up for hosting the final? Give us a flavor, if you will, about the atmosphere in the city. What are the fans having to say about India's chances?
Well, Ramesh, let me give you a sneak peek. Right now I'm inside the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad. This particular place, this is going to be the place where the much-awaited semi-final, the much-awaited summit clash of the ICC Cricket World Cup will take place. This is a historic place. It's an iconic place. This particular stadium is the largest cricket stadium in the world. More than 130,000 people can be accommodated in this Claudron. And remember, the two cricketing giants, India and Australia, will be vying for glory. Both teams will be looking. This is Australia's 8th final. They made it to the 8th final of the ICC World Cup 50-over format. And this India will be looking to make amends. Remember, the last time these two teams met, it was way back in 2003 final, in the final of 2003 World Cup in South Africa. And at that time, Australia had the better of India. Indian team under Rohit Sharma will like to, like to see this particular match as a revenge match, and will like to make it count. In fact, they will be looking to add to the third World Cup title in this particular match, and it's going to be a huge match for all the players, especially captain Rohit Sharma. Remember, the last time India won the World Cup was way back in 2011, and he didn't make that squad. So for him, this is going to be a crucial match, and his confidence is actually rubbing onto the team. The way he has led from the front, the way he has the hitman has gone about his job, it amounts to the fact that his confidence is actually rubbing onto his teammates. The way they are going about the business, the confidence is showing on the brand of cricket that India is playing. So a lot will be riding on India. They will be crowd favorite. 130,000 people will be rooting for them inside the stadium. More than 4 billion people will be rooting all over the world. So it will be a Herculean task for the Australian team playing under in such condition. But again, as we know, Australia are no pushover when it comes to cricket.
Also, Tapas, talking about the men in blue, do you think India will field an unchanged team?
In all likelihood, if ain't broken, don't mend it, isn't it? So one believes that Indian team will go with the same playing 11 that has yielded result for them in the 10 matches so far, and they will be looking to make this match count as well. Remember, the only time they made the change was when Hardik Pandya got injured and Shami made it to the playing 11. They want to keep it going, and the way Shami has played, the way all the team members of the playing 11 have played, they are in form and they have peaked at the right time in the tournament. So it will be very difficult to see who they will drop. But again, Surya Kumar Yadav, one believes that the final will be Surya Kumar Yadav's moment of reckoning. Ramesh.
All right, we leave it at that. Tapas, thank you again for your inputs. As Tapas was saying, all eyes are fixed on that Sunday's final of the ICC Cricket World Cup between India and Australia. In some more news, Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana National Rural Livelihoods Mission is an initiative by the Ministry of Rural Development. The mission seeks to reach rural poor households to impact their livelihoods significantly. Now, Saras Ajivika Mela has started in India International Trade Fair, in which women of self-help groups from 28 states of the country are displaying their varied range of products, mainly handicrafts, handloom and natural food items from rural areas of the country. It aims to reduce poverty by enabling the poor households to access gainful self-employment and skilled wage employment opportunities.
We manufacture saris. These saris are Bangalore silk, which is washable and also easy wearable. First, in rural areas, every woman, they don't know about our own entrepreneurship. So NRLM introduced for women own internship, which is easy for working within 10 to 5 or easy time. They actually provide a training section also. They give training and they give loan without interest. In Karnataka, this is best way to reach goals.
I come from Tripura, Ojebong Self-Help Group. We make handicraft, bamboo product or handloom.
In some more news, India's northeastern city of Shillong is once again turning pink as cherry blossoms have started blooming. All right, let me take you live to the closing ceremony of the second edition of the Voice of Global South Summit.
एक्सेलेंसीज, नमस्कार। दूसरी वॉइस ऑफ ग्लोबल साउथ समिट के अंतिम सत्र में आप सबका हार्दिक स्वागत है। मुझे खुशी है कि आज पूरे दिन चली इस समिट में लैटिन अमेरिका और कैरेबियन देशों से लेकर अफ्रीका, एशिया और पैसिफिक आइलैंड से करीब करीब 130 देशों ने भाग लिया है। एक साल के भीतर ग्लोबल साउथ की 2 समिट होना और उसमें बड़ी संख्या में आप सभी का जुड़ना अपने आप में दुनिया के लिए एक बहुत बड़ा मैसेज है। ये मैसेज है कि ग्लोबल साउथ अपनी ऑटोनॉमी चाहता है। ये मैसेज है कि ग्लोबल साउथ ग्लोबल गवर्नेंस में अपनी आवाज चाहता है। ये मैसेज है कि ग्लोबल साउथ वैश्विक मामलों में बड़ी जिम्मेदारी लेने के लिए तैयार है। एक्सेलेंसी, आज इस समिट ने हमें एक बार फिर अपनी साझा अपेक्षाओं और आकांक्षाओं पर चर्चा करने का अवसर दिया है। भारत को गर्व है कि हमें G20 जैसे महत्वपूर्ण फोरम में ग्लोबल साउथ की आवाज को एजेंडा पर रखने का अवसर मिला। इसका श्रेय आप सभी के मजबूत समर्थन और भारत के प्रति आपके दृढ़ विश्वास को जाता है और इसके लिए मैं हृदय से आप सबका बहुत बहुत आभारी हूं। और मुझे विश्वास है कि जो आवाज G20 समिट में बुलंद हुई, उसकी गूंज आने वाले समय में अन्य वैश्विक मंचों पर भी ऐसे ही सुनाई देती रहेगी। एक्सेलेंसी, पहली वॉइस ऑफ ग्लोबल साउथ समिट में मैंने कुछ कमिटमेंट्स के बारे में बात की थी। मुझे यह बताते हुए खुशी है कि उन सभी पर प्रगति हुई है। आज सुबह ही दक्षिण नाम से ग्लोबल साउथ सेंटर ऑफ एक्सेलेंसीज को लॉन्च किया गया। यह सेंटर विकासशील देशों के डेवलपमेंटल इश्यूज से जुड़े रिसर्च पर फोकस करेगा। इस इनिशिएटिव से ग्लोबल साउथ में ही समस्याओं के प्रैक्टिकल हल भी खोजे जाएंगे। आरोग्य मैत्री पहल के अंतर्गत भारत मानवीय सहायता के लिए आवश्यक दवाइयां और आपूर्तियों की डिलीवरी के लिए प्रतिबद्ध है। पिछले महीने हमने फिलिस्तीन को 60 टन दवाइयां और मेडिकल जरूरतों के सामान की सहायता दी। 3 नवंबर को नेपाल में भूकंप के बाद भारत ने नेपाल को भी 3 टन से अधिक दवाइयां की सहायता भेजी। भारत को डिजिटल हेल्थ सर्विस डिलीवरी में अपनी क्षमताओं को भी ग्लोबल साउथ के साथ साझा करने में खुशी होगी। ग्लोबल साउथ साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी इनिशिएटिव के जरिए हम ग्लोबल साउथ में हमारे पार्टनर्स को कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग और रिसर्च में मदद करने के लिए भी तत्पर हैं। G20 सैटेलाइट मिशन फॉर एनवायरनमेंट एंड क्लाइमेट ऑब्जर्वेशन, इससे मिलने वाले क्लाइमेट और वेदर डेटा विशेष रूप से ग्लोबल साउथ के देशों के साथ शेयर किए जाएंगे। मुझे खुशी है कि ग्लोबल साउथ स्कॉलरशिप प्रोग्राम की भी शुरुआत हो चुकी है। अब ग्लोबल साउथ के देशों के छात्रों को भारत में हायर एजुकेशन के अधिक अवसर मिलेंगे। इस साल तंजानिया में भारत का पहला इंडियन इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी कैंपस भी खोला गया है। यह ग्लोबल साउथ में कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग के लिए हमारी एक नई पहल है, जिसे अन्य क्षेत्रों में भी आगे बढ़ाया जाएगा। हमारे युवा जो डिप्लोमेट्स के लिए मैंने जनवरी में ग्लोबल साउथ यंग डिप्लोमेट्स फोरम का प्रस्ताव रखा था। इसकी शुरुआती संस्करण जल्द ही आयोजित किया जाएगा, जिसमें हमारे देशों में के युवा डिप्लोमेट शामिल होंगे। एक्सेलेंसीज, अगले साल से हम भारत में एक एनुअल इंटरनेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस की शुरुआत करने का प्रस्ताव रखते हैं, जो ग्लोबल साउथ की विकास प्राथमिकताओं पर केंद्रित होगी। इस कॉन्फ्रेंस का आयोजन दक्षिण सेंटर द्वारा ग्लोबल साउथ के पार्टनर रिसर्च सेंटर्स और थिंक टैंक के साथ किया जाएगा। इसका मुख्य उद्देश्य होगा कि ग्लोबल साउथ की विकास संबंधी समस्याओं के लिए प्रैक्टिकल सॉल्यूशंस की पहचान की जाए, जिससे हमारा फ्यूचर मजबूत बने। एक्सेलेंसीज, वैश्विक शांति और स्थिरता में हमारे साझे हित है। पश्चिम एशिया में गंभीर स्थिति पर मैंने आज सुबह अपने विचार साझा किए थे। इन सब संकटों का बड़ा प्रभाव ग्लोबल साउथ पर भी पड़ता है। इसलिए जरूरी है कि हम एकजुटता से एक स्वर में साझा प्रयासों से इन सभी परिस्थितियों का समाधान खोजें। एक्सेलेंसीज, हमारे बीच G20 के अगले अध्यक्ष ब्राजील के राष्ट्रपति हिज एक्सेलेंसी और मेरे मित्र राष्ट्रपति लूला मौजूद है। मुझे विश्वास है कि ब्राजील की G20 अध्यक्षता में भी ग्लोबल साउथ की प्राथमिकताओं और हितों को लगातार मजबूत बनाया जाएगा और आगे बढ़ाया जाएगा। ट्रॉइका के सदस्य के रूप में भारत ब्राजील को पूर्ण समर्थन देगा। मैं मेरे मित्र राष्ट्रपति लूला को उनके विचारों के लिए आमंत्रित करता हूं और उसके बाद आप सभी के विचार सुनने के लिए उत्सुक हूं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
All right, you were listening to India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi's remarks at the closing session of the second edition of the Voice of Global South Summit. And for more on this, I'll be joined momentarily by my colleague Jessica Taneja on the phone line. But very quickly, if I were to recap what the Prime Minister said in his speech there, he spoke about how more than 130 countries have taken part in the second edition that began this morning, New Delhi time, and the closing session is on even as we speak. He says the fact that 2 Voice of Global South summits have taken place in the span of 1 year sends out a big message to the world at large. And he went on to say the first takeaway from that message would be the following: 1, that the Global South wants its autonomy, number 1. Number 2, he says, the Global South wants to have its say in global governance. And last but not the least, he said the Global South is ready to discharge its responsibilities in global affairs. He went on to make a number of other points as well. I'll try to recap with the help of my colleague Jessica Taneja in just a bit. I'm told she is not available at the moment. We'll try to fix that link with her in just a bit. But if I were to also recap again what the PM said in his speech there, he said, as was reported on your channel this morning, that India, as the host of the Voice of Global South Summit, has proposed to set up a Global South Center of Excellence. He says India has been at the forefront of helping its fellow countries, members of the Global South, in their hour of need. He went on to mention Palestine in particular. Remember, India has sent a large consignment of medicines and other relief material to Palestine very recently. Also, for the Nepal earthquake, when India sent tons of medicines to that country as well. He's also said that India has now proposed, and this is significant, that from next year onwards, India proposes to hold an annual international conference to focus primarily on development priorities of the Global South. All right, I'm told Jessica is with us. Jessica, recap, if you will, the Prime Minister's speech at the closing session there. Jessica, can you hear me? All right, let me pull up some graphics for you in that case. We'll try to fix that link with Jessica momentarily. But in the meantime, look at these graphics coming up on your screens. Point number 1, Prime Minister Modi says, India condemned the terrorist attacks in Israel. He went on to say that he condemns the civilian deaths in the Israel-Hamas conflict. Right, and just to again recap his speech, he spoke about how India spoke about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. He says that India is very clear that there should be minimum loss of civilian casualties. At the same time, terrorism is an issue that cannot be sidelined or ignored. So all in all, a very eventful speech there by the Indian Prime Minister. As I mentioned at the top of this bulletin, that he says more than 130 countries have taken part over these 4 or 5 sessions this afternoon as well. And he says among the 2 important takeaways that India has launched the Global South Center of Excellence, number 1. And number 2, he says India has proposed to hold an annual international conference starting next year to focus primarily on Global South's development priorities. All right, moving on for now. In some more news on this broadcast, the Khadi and Village Industries Commission is participating in the 42nd India International Trade Fair at New Delhi. Now, Khadi India Pavilion in the trade fair reflects the theme of Vocal for Local, displaying a wide range of products of New Delhi's new Khadi. DD India's Kriti Vadhera reports.
Minister for Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Narayan Rane inaugurated Khadi India Pavilion at the India International Trade Fair. a glimpse of the products of New Khadi of New India has been presented through 214 stalls in the Khadi India Pavilion. Khadi India Pavilion is showcasing the products manufactured by skilled artisans of the country and also to promote the initiative of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Vocal for Local and Self-Reliant India.
हमारे माननीय पंतप्रधान नरेंद्र मोदी जी खादी को बढ़ावा दे रहे हैं। जो अब पहले की खादी अभी तो अलग-अलग फैशन में, डिजाइन में खादी आ रही है और यूथ लाइक कर रहे हैं।
In this pavilion, the artisans of the country have been provided a momentous platform to exhibit their art.
देश में उद्योग बढ़ने के लिए, प्रोडक्शन बढ़ने के लिए, जीडीपी बढ़ने के लिए ये मेला का उपयोग होगा। लोगों को जानकारी मिलेगी अलग-अलग प्रोडक्शन निकालने के लिए।
The government is appealing everyone to buy indigenous products so that millions of artisans associated with khadi and village industries in rural areas get livelihood opportunities.
Right from the freedom struggle, khadi has become a national icon for Indians. Khadi still prevails to empower Indians through the employment it is providing to the local artisans in rural areas, and government is not leaving any stone unturned to become vocal for its local artisans. With camera person Radhe Krishna, I am Kriti Vadhera reporting from New Delhi for ED India.
Well, let me pull up some more news for you on this broadcast. SpaceX is about to test its spacecraft flight for a second time as part of a wider mission with NASA to get humans back on the moon. The first test flight blew up minutes after takeoff, and it's taken months to get regulators to clear another try. Caroline Malone reports from Washington, D.C.
SpaceX is hoping to be part of the next giant leap for mankind, 50 years after humans first went to the moon. A test window for the Starship spacecraft launch will open from Saturday, when the spacecraft is due to shoot up and then detach from its rocket. CEO Elon Musk said earlier in the year he sees about a 50% chance of it reaching orbital velocity, but even getting to stage separation is a win. That's better odds than when it first tested in April, when the Starship faltered within minutes after it took off and had to self-destruct, exploding over the Gulf of Mexico. Since then, SpaceX has had to wait for safety and environmental reviews, but has now been cleared by regulators to try again. The ultimate goal is for the spacecraft to play a part in NASA's Artemis moon mission, a return to the lunar surface in 2025, and even to put humans onto Mars for the first time. Caroline Malone in Washington, reporting for DD India.
A large group of international negotiators and United Nations representatives are meeting in Nairobi, Kenya, to come up with an international treaty to tackle the world's plastic pollution problem. According to the United Nations, less than 10% of the plastic waste created globally has been recycled. Interlocutors are hoping to reach consensus on a legally binding agreement by next year. William Denslow reports from UN headquarters in New York. Take a listen.
An estimated 430 million tonnes of plastic is produced every year, but the United Nations warns that 2/3 of it ends up thrown away. Scientists say this is creating an ecological crisis. The social and environmental cost of plastic pollution is estimated to be between $300 to $600 billion a year. And analysts expect plastic production to double over the next 2 decades. In a bid to turn the tide, negotiators from nations around the world gathered in Nairobi, Kenya this week as efforts continue to reach consensus on a treaty to address the threat of plastic pollution. This is the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee's 3rd session, as it continues work on a so-called zero draft text.
This means rethinking everything along the chain, from polymer to production, from product to packaging. We need to use fewer virgin materials, less plastic, and no harmful chemicals. We need to ensure that we use and reuse and recycle resources more efficiently and dispose safely of what is left over.
A key mission is to see the world move from a throwaway economy to a reuse economy. But deep divisions remain on issues including whether to focus on cuts to plastic production or just the management of plastic waste. The INC3 meeting is slated to wrap up on Sunday, before delegates reconvene for another round of talks in Canada in April. William Denslow in New York reporting for DD India.
The United Nations Top Court will hand down its ruling on Friday on a case brought by Armenia against Azerbaijan. Armenia wants the court to put restrictive measures in place to prevent what they call the ethnic cleansing of Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh, a claim Azerbaijan denies. Alex Cadier reports from Brussels.
It's now nearly 2 months since Azerbaijani forces stormed into Nagorno-Karabakh, uprooting the local self-proclaimed Republic of Artsakh, which had close ties with Armenia. What followed was the exodus of more than 100,000 ethnic Armenians from the region, leaving shattered lives behind. Armenia now says the few that remain are at risk of ethnic cleansing at the hands of Azerbaijani troops, and it wants the International Court of Justice to step in. Armenia is asking the ICJ to put in place 10 provisional measures aimed at protecting the rights of ethnic Armenians from that Nagorno-Karabakh region. The head of Armenia's legal team says nothing other than targeted and unequivocal provisional measures protecting the rights of ethnic Armenians of Nagorno-Karabakh will suffice to prevent the ethnic cleansing Azerbaijan is perpetrating from continuing and becoming irreversible. Meanwhile, Azerbaijan has strenuously denied all of Armenia's allegations. The country's deputy foreign minister, Elnur Mammadov, said Azerbaijan has not engaged and will not engage in ethnic cleansing or any form of attack on the civilian population of Karabakh. The International Court of Justice is currently working through 2 similar cases linked to the decades-long conflict between the two sides. In 2021, Armenia filed a claim accusing Azerbaijan of breaching the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination. Shortly thereafter, Azerbaijan filed a counterclaim accusing Armenia of doing the same thing. The legal wranglings between an emboldened Azerbaijan and a weakened Armenia will likely carry on beyond this ruling, a ruling which even the court will have no practical way to enforce. Alex Cadier in Brussels reporting for DD India.
The festive season proved instrumental in substantial and robust surge of digital payments to an unprecedented level in October 2023. India's central bank, the Reserve Bank of India, says the Unified Payments Interface added another billion to reach 11 billion transactions in a short span of 2 months, the quickest addition of a billion to date. India's Ministry of Culture will organize a biennial art festival at Delhi's Red Fort from the 8th to the 15th of December, featuring workshops, discussions and debates on various subjects related to art, architecture and culture.
हमारी एक प्रयास है कि जो सांस्कृतिक या कल्चर डिप्लोमेसी है उसको आगे बढ़ाने का, कि देश भर का जो आर्ट आर्किटेक्चर है वो अन्य स्थानों पर पार्टिसिपेट करें और देश दुनिया के जो लोग हैं वो भारत में आकर भारत की जो डिजाइन आर्ट आर्किटेक्चर की शैली है उससे परिचित हों। प्रधानमंत्री जी जैसे कहते हैं कि विकास भी और विरासत भी, तो अब जब भारत विकास की तरफ बढ़ चुका है तो अपनी विरासत को ना भूले और नए तौर तरीके जो विकास के हैं उन सब तौर तरीकों को इस्तेमाल करते हुए विरासत को जीवित रखने हुए और आगे बढ़ने का ये एक हमारा छोटा सा प्रयास है। और
India's northeastern city of Shillong is now once again turning pink as cherry blossoms have started blooming all over the city. The Shillong Cherry Blossom Festival is being organized in the northeastern Indian state of Meghalaya from the 17th to the 19th of November. The festival is a celebration of culture, art and music It offers a diverse range of activities from cosplay competitions and beauty pageants to choir contests and a thrilling zip line. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can also check out our website, ddindia.co.in. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. From all of us here in New Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.